Hi, Michael here, and this is the fifth capability from the Heart of Transformation, Innovating Before Replicating, and we're talking about how to ask those questions using the 4A's canvas. So here's the 5 questions. The first one is, what have I learned from my failures? This is the pivot question, because it's not something you want to castigate yourself for failing. We've talked a lot about fail fast. We've heard that a lot. Well, failing fast doesn't mean that you want to make tons of failures. Failing fast means you want to try and learn from that and pivot and try something else and learn from that. So failing fast is about learning by doing. So what have I learned from my failures shows how you pivot, when you pivot, how well you pivot, how fast you pivot. When you're asking this question of you and your group, the answer should be, I've learned a lot and I've learned it often. If that's not the case, then you need to examine a little bit more. Number 2, do I have the stomach for the long game? This is the fortitude question. We live in a world where we value short-term gains, and we have built financial systems and compensation systems to support that. Unfortunately, short-term gains often come at the cost of long-term gains. And so you really have to stick your neck out sometimes to go for the long-term game and play the long game. I like to, pros and cons about it, whatever you think. Jeff Bezos is someone who said, I'm going to play the long game. And he was perfectly content to lose a lot of people's money, including his own, while he built market share, knowing that that was the long game. And that's played out pretty well for him. Understanding in your own context, do I have the stomach for the long game, is something you need to answer and your team needs to be clear on if you're going to take a little more risk and you're going to push forward in a little more change and transformation. The third question, what's the cost of replicating our success? This is the dark side question, because we don't often stop and say, well, great, it was successful. What's the problem there? But there is a problem in replicating our success, is that we'll only be replicating and we won't be innovating. We won't be learning. So the problem with replicating our success is that that success is not going to stay a success forever. Things are going to change, competition's going to change, the market's going to change, the context is going to change, and what was successful today will not be successful tomorrow. If that weren't the case, we'd all be riding horses to work instead of trying to get our cars to drive themselves. So there is a cost to replicating success. As a group gets comfortable on doing the things they're doing and are doing really well, that's a question you want to ask yourself. Is there a dark side to what seems to be all good right now? The fourth question is, how do I stop being the center of the universe? This is the step back and see myself or see ourselves question. The fact of the matter is that we are at the center of every experience that we have, and we see through everything through our eyes. And most of the time we have a field of vision that says, well, we know what's what and what's right. Let's judge everything else against that. Groups have the same thing. They create that little field of vision. So how do we stop being the center of the universe? This is a question that is helped to be solved by great diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, quite frankly, because you can bring in people that are different from you and will not look at things the way you do, and so make you stop. But also, how do I stop being the center of the universe is the kind of question that makes you more curious and makes you more interested in learning over knowing, and quite frankly, innovating over just replicating what your success has been. And the fifth question is, how would I disrupt me? That's the changing myself question. We talk a lot about disruption, but how would I disrupt me? What would I do that was different to disrupt my routines, disrupt my patterns, disrupt my habits? Some of the things that I do to disrupt me is I engage with people to help me disrupt myself. In fact, as I'm recording this right now, I'm working with my friend Fei Wu, who is my marketing mentor and guru and helps me with all things marketing and social media. I use Fei's thinking to disrupt my own because she sees things differently than I do. Having people around you that help disrupt yourself is the kind of thing that you can do to get out of patterns that are less productive and find patterns that are more productive. So those are the 5 questions from Innovating Before Replicating from the 4A's Canvas from the Heart of Transformation. All the contact information will be in the links or in the bio here, wherever kind of site you're looking at this on. Always look forward to your feedback, questions, concerns, thoughts, comments. Feel free to reach out. Thanks for hanging in there.